Okay, so the last bit is a join function that lets the user select two account lists by name and then uses an under operator to add those two account lists together, and then adds the new account list to the list of accounts. Um, and before I do that, something occurred to me that when we were adding a new instructor to a list, yeah, so new instructor here, when we call maker find instructor, here, we're actually making a new instructor. Um, we need to make sure that this instructor gets added to the list of all instructors, because we're using the list of all instructors in order to select instructors by name to edit them and so on. So basically, if we get here, what we want to do is instructor equals that, and then course instructors dot all instructors dot add instructor. And then return instructor. And then we want to do the same thing here. And actually, we could probably, yeah, we could actually move this down here. Because it's either always going to make a full-time instructor or a part-time instructor. And then we're going to always add that to the list of all instructors and then return it. Cool. Okay, so let me do a quick test of that. So I'm going to go ahead and rerun it. So let's print all instructors. So there's my list. Kara Tang is not on there, so let's add Kara Tang. So add a new instructor to a list, and I'm going to add, so the list is, do I have CIS 133J? No. So I need to actually make a CIS 133J list. So let me do that. So I'm going to add a new instructor list for CIS 133J. And then I'm going to add a new instructor to CIS 133J. Oh, this got downcased. That's a problem. Don't really want to do that. So the instructor's first name is Kara, last name is Tang, middle initial is A, just like everybody. And then G12121212. Yes. Okay, so now if I print CIS 133J, Kara Tang's on the list, and she should also be on the list of all instructors now. And she is. Good. So she's at the end. All right. And then the other thing I want to do is make sure that when I create the new instructor list, that I'm not, that I'm using whatever capitalization the user used when they entered it. So that's going to be the add instructor list command. Let me look at input string and my input validation. That shouldn't be doing downcasing. It's not. That's not good. That's not downcasing anything. So let me my instructor list. I'm going to put a breakpoint right there and then stop it. Actually, let me just exit. Yeah. And then I'm going to run it under the debugger. I'm going to add a new instructor list, CIS133J. Okay, it's all uppercase, so that's actually what I want. Course lists.append. So let me look at protected attributes. Here's my course lists. And this is all uppercase. So I must have just typed it in lowercase and then spaced out. Okay, so this seems to work actually. Let me stop it. So adding an instructor works. Let me just run this one more time. This time I'll be careful. So I'm going to add a new instructor list, CIS133J, and then I'm going to add a new instructor to CIS133J, and it's all caps. That's good. Kara Tang A G12 or a number. Yes, and then print CIS133J has Kara on it, print all instructors has Kara on it. Okay, good. So that's fixed. So now the last thing is an add method. So let's go to instructor list, and I'm going to implement under add under, and this is the operation that gets run when you use plus to add two things together. So I'm going to say list1 plus list2, and that's going to return a new list, and the name of the new list is going to be the first list name slash the second list name, and then the instructors on the new list are going to be each instructor from both lists, but only once. So like if I have the same instructor in two lists, I'm only going to end up with one copy of that instructor in the final list. So otherwise, it should be pretty straightforward. So it's going to take self, and then it's also going to take other. So that's the list that you're adding it to. So self is the list, and then there's a plus, and then there's another list, which is going to be here. So first thing we want to do is make a new list. So new list is equal to instructor list, and then the name is going to be self.getName, and then we'll add a slash, and then we'll do other.getName. Okay, so that's the name of the new list. And then for instructor in self, oopsie, I think I might have just switched my keyboard, so let me fix that. There we go. Okay. So for instructor in self, if instructor is not in new list, then new list dot add instructor. And then we're going to do the same thing for instructor in other. If instructor not in new list, then new list dot add instructor. And then we're going to return new list. So there's our add operation. And then in our menu, we're going to add an option so last thing will be J, join two lists together. So we need the code that's going to let us select a list. So that's basically this here. So I'm just going to grab those 3 lines. And actually, I want to go ahead and add my J option. This is just getting a little too long. So J is going to call self.join lists. And then I'm going to paste that other code in. And this is going to be join lists. So, so list 1 is going to be that. And then if list 1 not equal skip, then we need to actually get the list. I should have copied that as well. Yeah, so basically it's going to look like that. And this has been repeated enough that I probably should have made a helper function that basically returns an instructor list instead of returning a name. And it's not really too late to do that, but I'm not going to. Let's go ahead and static method select instructor list. And it's going to take a, actually I don't need to pass in anything. So it's going to do this. So list 1 is going to be, let's call that name. So name is that. If name not equals skip, then for list and lists, if il.getName is name, then we're going to return il. And then if we get to the end of the loop, or, yeah, if we get to the end of the loop and we didn't find it, we should never do that. We're just going to return none. It should be impossible to get here because they just picked a name that should match the name there. But and then if they do skip, so if they do skip, I'm going to return none as well. All right. So now everywhere where I'm pulling that list, I can just call my select instructor list. So list 1 is select instructor list. And then if list 1 is not none, then list 2 is equal, same thing here. And then we'll say if list 2 is not none, new list is equal to list 1 plus list 2, and then we're gonna add it course list UI dot course lists dot append new list. And that's actually should be all of it. So let me go through here. So this thing here is also selecting a list. Actually, that was the one I just wrote. So let me look for other places where I'm selecting the name. if name not skip. So this one I can say IL is equal to that. If IL is not none, then I don't need that anymore. Instructor is that. Should be IL is not none. So that's a little shorter. So I'm going to find the instructors in that list and then remove the instructor. And then this one, this can also be IL is equal to, I'm sorry, that should have been course instructors UI dot select instructor list. And then I'm going to do the same thing here up through there. And then if IL is not none, I mean, it's extra work, but it makes the code better. And then same thing, instructor name. I could do something like this as well, but I'm not looking up instructors as much, so I'm just going to leave this for now. Print list. So this is getting a list. So IL is equal to that. And then if IL is not none, then this. And then this one too. If IL is not none, that. So this removes the list from the list of courses, of instructor lists. And I think that's it. So that's looking up instructors. Okay, so I'm going to have to test all of that thoroughly, but I won't make you sit through all of that. Okay, so we will test this one though. So let's go ahead and run it. So let's print the list of instructor lists. And then let's make a new instructor list for CIS. Actually, new is adding a new user to the list. So, okay, let me go ahead and skip that. What I meant to do was to make a new list and then add an instructor to it. So I'm going to add a new instructor list for CIS 133J, and then I'm going to add a new instructor to 133J Karatang, and then A 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 full time, and then I'm also going to add another instructor to 133J. Po-Chin, Chang. Yes, I want to add them to the list. So let's print 133J. And then let's print 133Y. And I'm going to add a new instructor to 133Y, Po-Chin, Chang. Yes. So now 133J has Po-Chin and Kara, and 133 Y as me, Greg, and Po Chin. So I'm going to join CIS 133J to CIS 133Y. And then if I print the list of lists, I see there's now a 133J slash 133Y. So I'm going to print CIS 133J slash 133Y. And I get Kara and Po Chin from 133J, and I get me, Greg, and Po Chin from 133Y, but Po Chin only appears on the list once, which is exactly what we want. So now let me add 233Y to this list. So let's join 133J slash 133Y to 233Y, and then print 133J, 133Y, 233Y. Same for people, because the only people on 233Y were me. And then let me delete CIS 133J, 133Y, because I don't need it anymore. And then those are the lists I have. So, I mean, everything seems to be working. I haven't tested it thoroughly, but I'll do that offline. And I think that's it for this lab.